yard, a hospital, a nightmare. I keep my shaking hand shivering on my wristwatch, ready to remove the battery if needed. My 4-year-old daughter Yafa, wearing a pink dress given to her by a friend, hears a bomb explode. She gasps, covers her mouth with her dress's ruffles. Yazan, her 5.5-year-old brother, grabs a blanket warmed by his sleepy body. He lays the blanket on his sister. You can hide now, he assures her. Should I do another? Yeah. Okay. This is by Maya Abul Hayat. You can't. Is it working now? You can't. They will fall in the end, those who say you can't. It'll be age or boredom that overtakes them or lack of imagination. Sooner or later, all leaves fall to the ground. You can be the last leaf. You can convince the universe that you pose no threat to the tree's life. Also, same poet. Return. On Highway 6 between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, drivers pay a toll for the well-paved road. Buses on either side transport passengers who've returned at last to Ramle or Lid, the latter in peace with jars for the holy festivals of the Prophet Salah. Justice was walking on the shoulder of the road outside the yellow line, giving back to the streets their names. Rahma, Mercy, was 7 when she escaped a fire with her quick feet at the family's annual barbecue at Atire. Now she leans on a cane she rented from Bashir Hospital but won't give it back. She's gazing through the air-conditioned bus. Dreams don't come true through will or the passage of years that come undone, like rosary beads or a grape cluster loosened in a bowl for kids. Years that roll under the bed, dreams propel the body forward instead. Decisions are taken by need, no matter the arthritis expenses, plethora of adolescence, damp walls, and old cots. Because need clips the wings of difference, need clips the wings of dreams and the legs of the righteous. Rahmeh, mercy, who could run barefoot as fast and for as long as a Kenyan runner might, in this driving to Texas to surprise me, asking, do you remember this song, holding up a glass, drunk after years of not calling out, live long the king, grinning like a child's moon, the inkiest kind of green, setting the story straight, never stepping foot in Beirut again, astonished by American graveyards, saying his mother's name, asking if I remember her, afraid of dogs and ocean, afraid of leaving, afraid of not, afraid of nothing. I could do some more later. Okay, yeah. Keep talking. Okay, we're going.
Sorry, what do I, is this for, oh.
Yeah, I just talking to you.
But how does it flip onto this?
Sorry, we're doing our best. How does,
We broke the thing.
Break?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, just speak. There we go. Just speak into the.
Do you mind if I put this around
yeah,
your neck?
please.
Okay.
Then,
Thank you.
okay.
There we go.
Are we,
All right. We're live.
am I, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, from Barnard College. I'd like to read, well, before I do that, I just want to say, is this okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The mic's to speak right
Yeah.
into the mic.
I'm trying to speak right into the, I'm not a professional. I want to say that one of the things that I have been researching this week for a paper that I have to give very soon is the student protests in Africa in the 1960s. And I've been reading about protests all through the 60s, from 63 to 68. I think about those students today as I think about our students. I think about students who were standing up for things that they believed in, and they ended up making entirely new countries. With that, I want to read something about someone who has been a student with us. And this is from an article written by Professor Shauni Mitra. The article is called Mahmoud Khalil, Biding Time in Jannah. I'm just going to read some excerpts. To anyone who knows Mahmoud, his brief closing statement is not a surprise. His stoic optimism, his care for others before self, his uncanny ability to identify the source of a problem and unwavering courage to name it, and always his solidarity with more marginalized groups of people. These are the qualities that made him an excellent student mediator on Columbia's campus. They are also wholly at odds with the claims of the undated two-page memorandum that Secretary of State Marco Rubio submitted and which Judge Jamie Comens ruled was sufficient grounds for removability under Section 237 of the Immigration and Nationality Act A4C, claiming Mahmoud to be adverse to foreign policy interests of the United States. The memo specifically cites Mahmoud's role and participation in, quote, anti-Semitic protests and disruptive activities, which fosters a hostile environment for Jewish students in the United States, end of quote. Mahmoud was the first of a current spate of ICE kidnappings of students, escalated and abetted by an administration that appears to be increasingly comfortable with extrajudicial proceedings. The ICE agents who apprehended Mahmoud thought he was on an F1 visa to the United States. When told he was a legal permanent resident, they were flummoxed enough mid-operation to call their supervisor. The agents were instructed to pick him up anyway. At the hearing, amongst the many motions, Mahmoud's legal team filed for termination of detention based on his wrongful detention. DHS, they argued, had produced a warrant to justify the arrest, but that warrant was signed 5 hours after Mahmoud had already been detained. Judge Comens was unmoved. She read her judgment after the long hearing from a pre-typed statement. He was removable. Across state lines, detention was the stress test for the administration, instrumentalizing its immigration policy to come after pro-Palestinian students. And then just to conclude, we keep each other safe. Students say this to one another all the time at rallies and protests. Despite the distance between rural Louisiana and New York, we found a bit of community at that restaurant a few minutes' drive from the prison. We told the owner and his wife that we would tell Mahmoud about them, that they were there just outside the gates. Mahmoud, for all his trials, has found deep community inside the gates too. When we heard the early anecdotes about him helping his peers fill out forms and access legal help, we had to laugh. Of course he is. That's who he is. One can only imagine the intricate barter of care and camaraderie behind those doubled gates. In a facility that prides itself on the basics of bare life, people bide their time, each in their own way. When we went to see him, he was wearing a slender, bright blue beaded bracelet that said Noor, which another detainee had made for him. On April 21, Noor delivered her son alone after another Louisiana immigration judge denied Mahmoud's appeal for monitored release an hour after his lawyers filed a request when Noor had already gone into labor. Mahmoud was able to speak to her briefly during labor and delivery. Perhaps he was thumbing the tasbih or prayer beads he held at his hearing. After all, those were made for him too, with toothpaste and bread shaped as perfect beads in the microwave.
Do you have anything else to read?
Thank you.
No? Oh. Yep.
All right.
Okay. How's everybody doing? Hour 8? No, 10. Hour 10. We started at noon. It's like hour 11. So give it up for the organizers. Give it up for all of the students who are here. And I just want to say that we are here because of our students. And I specifically want to shout out the students who a month ago were behind us on these gates on a freezing night and stayed for 10 hours demanding that the administration tell them who shared information about where Mahmoud Khalil was. Before that, they chained themselves to the gates, locked gates, gates that were not used, and were violently sort of cut open from those chains by what we learned was Columbia Public Safety, but also hired Pinkerton. And now they're calling those same students in for disciplinary hearings for those actions. So in my continuing and undying admiration for our students, I want to read the opening statement of a student who has been called in for one of these hearings. I share her brave and moving words with permission. The past few semesters have been very difficult for me. As a Jew, it has been very painful to see the mass slaughter of Palestinians carried out in the name of the religion I love. I truly believe that the safety of Jewish people and Palestinians is intertwined. One cannot come at the expense of the other. I have reached this belief not only out of the deep love I hold for all human life, a value captured in the Jewish concept of, and someone help me out here. Okay, but also through tools of historical analysis that I learned in Barnard classrooms. Moreover, I have watched my friends lose loved ones to the genocide in Gaza, and my heart breaks every time I see the news that some Palestinians have been killed, more hospitals bombed, and more universities destroyed. It has also been scary to see claims of my safety implicated in the punishments of my friends and classmates who engaged in nonviolent protest for divestment from Israel, fighting to make sure their tuition dollars do not contribute to the bombing of their family members. I have felt betrayed by Barnard and Columbia, who have ignored my identity by claiming to act on my behalf and given in to the intellectually unsound narrative that the beliefs I hold are anti-Semitic. I cannot